Good morning and welcome to the fifth episode of the Zevoli Round Corner, which is our October episode, and we're looking nice and bright.
It's springtime, so we have to.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Zuluka Mashiko. I lead solutions here at home, and I'm back in a more familiar seat this time, right? The last time I was on the other side.
Well,
And
we
then
have to change.
I don't agree. Today I have my counterpart, Ms. Pumuzo Mazunya. The last time she was interviewing me, but today I'm interviewing her, so I'm the host today. And I have Ms. Pumuzo Mazunya as our guest. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm okay. Interesting enough that this seat feels like a very hot seat.
Yes,
Yeah, it's very not so familiar. I think I enjoy being the one
that
doing it.
grills
Yeah,
people.
that grills people.
No, you look lovely. You look lovely.
Thank you. You do too.
Today we're talking about a challenge, I think, for ESD officials, which is ESD buy-in. But if done right, we can potentially get this ESD buy-in thing right. I
Yes.
think it does have a lot of potential to put stakeholders together just to get to a point where ESD is almost a lifestyle.
Yes.
So before we get started on our topic, maybe just give us a definition. What is buy-in? What is this buy-in thing that people talk about?
I think buy-in is a simple word. It's just about getting support, getting everybody to agree on the plan. So if we say this is the plan and each and every department agrees on this is the way forward, that's what we call buy-in. We want everybody to be invested in the idea, to support it, and to be able to implement with that support.
Okay, so you're saying that buy-in has something to do with maybe garnering support for a specific idea or something that one would want to do.
Yes.
All right, so maybe let's talk about ESD. So ESD governance, or maybe the model of execution, is mostly two ways. So a lot of the time, well, sometimes, let me say sometimes, you'll get an ESD department within a
Mm-hmm.
corporate, right? It's an ESD department, usually a little small, but sometimes it has just about enough people to be able to run the division.
Yes.
And then for the most part, you have the other way to do it, which is getting an ESD partner or an implementation partner, such as ourselves. But in the general scheme of things, what are the different departments, roles, functions that surround an ESD department?
Well, definitely the top brass. So your CEO, your CFO, your COO, they definitely have to be involved as the decision makers, the policy makers, and all of that. Supply chain, so procurement, logistics, that department also has to be involved. And then you also need your operations because they're the ones that usually work with the service providers. So they would also need to buy into the ESD implementation and also CSI. So your corporate social investment department also has a role to play, and also yeah, and a little bit of ACD. So it's I would really say the whole company, all departments in the company have a role to play in ESD. So they all need to buy in because even if your involvement is minute, you are still involved. I mean, the legal team is also involved for contracting and things like that. So, yes,
Yeah, and I think it's also about ESD being a contributor
yes,
to each of the divisions or these functions. And I say this because, if you were to really look at it, if you look at the life cycle of an SME, particularly in a company, you'll find that they've had a couple of touch points in the respective divisions. It's just that
yes.
everybody doesn't think so. Everybody, this is the first time I see this as me, but that's not usually the case. We find that somebody funded them. This one did this one did that, and if we had a concerted effort in terms of just supporting SMEs, you'll see that it will work out.
Yes.
Right. So what's the problem? if we can all agree that ESD is some sort of contributor involved somehow, so we have suppliers, we have small businesses that each of the divisions could potentially benefit from. What's the problem with just being supportive? Why don't we buy in? What's the challenge?
We don't buy into what we don't understand. We don't buy into what we don't have full knowledge about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't really understand what ESD is. A lot of people understand ESD as compliance, and they don't see it as an essential part of business. So it's like, okay, we can negotiate. We don't want to do this, so we don't have to. But once people start realizing that it's non negotiable, um, and actually understanding why ESD is important, then it will make it easier for ESD to be successful in corporates. And I think also when it comes to buyers always have long term relationships with certain service providers. What they do is, because I've known you for such a long time, you've been doing a good job, and somebody else now comes into the picture. I'm not sure of their quality, I'm not sure of whether they'll be able to carry out. So there's that
Yes.
fear of change comes in, and they're very, very reluctant
Yeah.
to come in. And also, in essence, ESD is never in the policies or in the strategy.
Yeah.
And that's also something that makes it challenging to get buy-in from everyone, because in a company that if you have a policy, the policy has to be implemented by everyone. We
Yes.
all know that once we've got policies that have been created, we all form part of them. We find ways of cascading them down to our departments and seeing how they work.
Yes. Yeah. So if you don't treat it like a weird third leg,
Yes.
Yeah. So I agree with you. It has to be, almost written word. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to say cast in stone because then it doesn't allow you to edit, but it has to be written word so that you allow yourself to intentionally implement it. So you
Yes.
are correct there. Um, my question is then, so what? Right? So what? Why is any of this important? Why must I get buy in? Why is this critical for my ESC program?
So, if you look at it from the perspective of supply chain, and getting service providers onboarded, right? Um, Sometimes the supply chain department will have a challenge with, we don't have the right fit. The people that are applying onto our database are not the right fit. But how can you get the right fit if you don't develop them? And then if you look at it from an executive point of view, your financial officer, they have to agree that there is going to be a budget set aside for ESD. You want to make sure that all departments come into an agreement of this is how it's going to work,
Yeah.
and we minimize risk. We mitigate the risk of seeing ESD as more compliance driven than transactional. And what we do want is for people to look beyond the compliance part. We want people to see ESD for the impact that it has on small businesses. And then also in terms of the attention and alignment to strategic objectives, if your strategy speaks to ESD as well, you will see how that will have an impact on the program and what kind of a program you end up running.
And I think that one of the other issues that we have to appreciate is that other divisions struggle to find alignment, they struggle to relate to what ESD is supposed to solve for them.
Yes.
So, is there a way to position ESD in a way that it solves these respective divisions' problems?
There definitely is a way, and I'm thinking of one of our recent clients that we onboarded where we actually had a workshop with all the departments, right? And each department would say, "But this is my challenge. This is what is that. This is what I'm facing when it comes to SMEs. I can't find SMEs in this industry. Whenever I'm looking for this, and we always looking at contracting people for a long term,
Yes.
but also you want to give other people a chance to also contribute or to become a service provider. So having people in the room and actually communicating all those challenges, identifying all those challenges, then you're able to see how can we solve this together, and not just have one person trying to solve it alone. Um, and also emphasizing the fact that um, ESD impact is not just on the business alone, right? It impacts the stakeholders, it impacts the investors. So you want to make sure that you minimize the risk.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that, if something solves a problem, it sticks. It has to solve a problem. I think we speak of value a lot, and I do think that there's an appreciation for impact. I do think there are a number of elements, but if you solve a problem, this arm is sore, and you are saying that you can fix this arm for me forever and a day, that will stick with me. So I
Yes,
do think that
definitely.
we should look at it from an area of problem solving for these respective divisions. Okay, so to our viewers at home, we are at the belly of the of the episode. So I think you can pop your comments, and we are happy to respond towards the end. So, in what different ways could we engage, the top brass or other key stakeholders, just in terms of ESG programs? How can we engage them? How can we make this interesting, noticeable?
Um, so one of the strategies that we have used as Zevoli is actually having a strategic workshop, right? Where we invite all the stakeholders to come and sit around the table to have the conversation.
Yes.
And that has an impact on the fact that we are able to align with the business objectives.
Yeah.
Everybody's input becomes noticeable. So, from
Yes.
a legal perspective, what does ESD mean? From a financial perspective, what does it mean? How are we going to contract this? How are we going to pay for this? And then so that everybody knows how it fits into their individual departments.
Yes.
So let's have the conversation around the table and be able to show impact. What is the impact of ESD? Why should we do this, and if you're sitting around a table and you want to convince somebody, there has to be value that they can derive from what you're presenting to them. So
Yes.
what is the value that we are going to be obtaining from this program that you want to run?
Yeah. And I think you're also saying something about clear objectives. So be clear. Be clear on what this ESD program means for the business. Two, where you can find alignment.
Yes.
And a lot of the times you can find alignment in business imperatives or commercial objectives within the way ESD works, or the makings of ESD. And I think that is also important, if you've done ESD for some time, to show the impact. And this is really just an issue of evidence, which is not an expression. So how can evidence be used? So what is this evidence, what's this data that can be used to say, look, I'm defending this investment, I need a little bit more money. How can we show this and use this evidence or data?
Um, I hope I'm not revealing any secrets.
Don't, please.
But what I love is the idea of impact reporting, right? In terms of it's not just we've done this for the sake of doing it, but what is the overall impact? Go back to the SMEs that you have developed to say, okay, so what is the impact? How did this program impact your business? Do a case study. And I think for those that don't know, Zevoli has testimonial videos that we showcase of different programs that we've run, and SMEs talking about how they have grown in terms of knowledge, what the benefit was in terms of access to finance or access to markets. What new markets have they gotten access to? What does this mean for them? Or, being in that program. So that type of reporting actually motivates other people because it's not just seen internally, it's also seen externally. So it becomes a public a public way of showcasing your investors, your stakeholders, that
Yes.
this is actually aligned to our strategy, and this now becomes an opinion of your company. People are able to say, I want to work with this company because this company actually makes an impact on not just them making money on a day-to-day business,
Yeah.
but they are also supporting small businesses and therefore supporting the communities that surround them.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about the showcases or the case studies, the testimonials, is that they do have a dual use. I think, um, yeah, sometimes we mustn't just look at them for the benefit of the corporate or ourselves, but it is also a form of marketing for the SME. So
Yes.
I think testimonials are wonderful. I think case studies are wonderful. So, SMEs can also take them and say, I was on this program, or here I am, I've improved my business in this manner. So I do think that, they can almost append it to a submission of any sort.
Yes.
So yeah. And then, we spoke of the different departments that surround ESD, and we want them to work together. What's the role of collaboration? So, if in the ideal world we all agreed as these respective divisions that we need to work together because ESD is either a contributor to my supplier or I'm a contributor to ESD in some way, what's the importance of this collaboration in order to get buy-in?
So the way I look at it is that you're able to get alignment, right? Instead of people working in silos, creating what we call ESD ESD hoppers.
Yes,
They're always on a program, but
yes,
because you're collaborating, um, you are able to identify that one SME
has been in other
has
divisions.
been in other divisions, and
Yes,
you don't want that. You want to develop them to such an extent that you are able to get hold of other service providers. You're able to get hold of other types of people who are gonna bring you a different quality. It's like finding a specialist, right? They're different specialists. And once you find a specialist, you don't want to stick to the same specialist because at some point that specialist quality starts dropping down because they know the contract is going to be renewed anyway. So
yeah,
you want to make sure that you encourage people to keep their quality at a top notch, right? So and it enables shared responsibility. So it's not just the ESD department that's responsible, but value chain, supply chain is also responsible.
Yes, yeah.
The buyer is also responsible. And what's also nice is that you can actually have your CEO come and mentor some of these SMEs. They can actually spend time with them, even if it's just an hour that they spend with them. They can learn a lot from that. So it becomes a collaborative effort. It becomes something where you don't even need to go outside to look for additional services. You do the services internally yourself.
Yes, yes. And I agree with you. It does, when you collaborate, it does reduce the issue of silos, particularly in the big corporates, because, you look at a big corporate and, you realize that there's some sort of ESD program support package thing going on in this division. And then in another division, they also have an SME black suppliers thing going on in a different division. So it does kind of reduce the silos. If you all agree that ESD sits here and we're all throwing our money behind this ESD effort and we're all going to support this ESD effort and all our SMEs are going to come from here.
Yes.
So I think it does help with that as well. Collaboration, as you said, it does also, in my words, it makes, it could potentially make an ESD program cheaper for you. We spend so much money on mentorship and a lot of different things, but I think we have to have an appreciation of the fact that in a corporate, there are so many skills, literally from the top down, that SMEs could appreciate having access
Yes.
to. So whether it's like an executive in sales, I mean, you can imagine that's like dinosaur years of experience. So a couple of hours with that guy could really help an SME.
Yes.
A technical guy, that those things, if you put them in a program, they could truly solve an ESD problem and change the direction of a business, the
Yes.
trajectory of a business. So collaboration is important, super important. So viewers at home, we're almost at the end. We're hoping that you're sending through your comments and questions, and then Pomozo will do her best. I'm not answering anything today. So if there are ESD officials out there that are watching, they already have ESD programs. What's your advice? How could they look at what they have now and then say, this is my way to try to get ESD buy-in?
Okay. So I would say assess your transformation objectives. What are your transformation objectives? Are they aligned to the company strategy? And can you turn them into a policy that is now implementable in every department? And also, don't shy away from having those strategic workshops with every department head in the room so that you can bring all the decision makers to come together and say, this is the value, this is the impact, and this is what we can get out of this. And it strengthens your communication amongst the departments and also amongst your stakeholders as well.
And then if I don't, what what risk am I managing? So what if I don't do this?
If you don't do this,
What's going to happen
like
to me?
you said, one of the challenges is going to be you're going to be spending a lot of money, right? You're going to have you run the risk of developing one SME across all departments who's really hopping, and um, your image is not that of being a contributor to the economy, right? Or to the community that you're working with. So you want to make sure that people see that you are making a difference. And that is the main thing. You want to make a difference in people's lives through these programs, and you want to limit a focus on just one SME.
Yeah, but look, what if I don't care about fluff, about making an impact and people seeing that I don't care, that I care, and all of these things? What then, Post? Like, what's
But
left? Because there are different ways to appeal to people, and particularly um, management.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes it's not easy to appeal to emotions and the
Yes.
greater good and those things.
Yes.
Um, what's the other way, you know? And for me, I always think of this risk, pain, you know? Where is this painful? Where is this risk?
This, for me, I would say it becomes more painful because if you are not implementing ESD in a more structured way, like I said, your long-term relationships with that one service provider can start deteriorating, meaning that the quality that you're producing is no longer at the high level that you are used to because you're not giving somebody else a chance to actually come in. So you're not giving them competition. They know that they are secure. You run the risk of um, getting service providers that are not developed, and those service providers that are not developed come in and mess up. And that is costly to the company. But if you are developing these SMEs, you are then assured that they will be able to deliver once they are contracted to whatever contract that is coming up. And you don't want to run the risk of delays, right? One thing that I've noticed is that um, a lot of times when you're looking for a service provider for something specific, you find a delay in the procurement process because they are not finding somebody who meets all the criteria. Whereas if the operational department had said, we've got an upcoming project next year, this is what we're going to be doing, and we need service providers that are going to be able to do this, you are able to develop SMEs that are going to form part of um, the procurement process,
Yeah.
which then makes it easier for you because then you already have a pipeline of people that are going to contribute.
Okay. And then we're in utopia now. So perfect world, perfect things. We're all aligned. We all agree. We've given you all our millions. What does success look like?
So basically, you're solving real supplier issues. You're solving the issues that are internal. You are making it easier for procurement to find service providers. You are making it easier for your public image to be seen as somebody that prioritizes SMMEs in the world that we are in. And SMEs also become confident in your support, right? One thing that we have learned is that SMEs have a way of talking to each other.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They communicate and they will be able to say, actually, you know what, I want to work with this company, I want to work with this corporate because I've seen that they support the people that they work with. So yeah, and I think you want to make sure that the public perception is always positive. Everybody sees your company as positive. It's always a struggle, especially with the mining community, because there's always complaints that are coming up. But if you're running your ESD program effectively and you've got buy-in from all departments,
And intentionality.
and you are intentional about it, I think we can reduce the number of complaints that come up from
These
the
communities. Yeah.
communities. Yes.
Right. Let's check about people. Any questions? Be happy to let us go. All right, ma'am. Last words. Why is this important? Why does this matter? Why? What should be considered? Any parting words of the audience?
So my parting words would be really align the corporate strategy, right? Align ESD with the corporate strategy, with business priorities, and making sure that it is actually embedded in your policies. Make ESD a lifestyle in your company. Make it part of the culture of the company. Um, ensure that the decision makers buy in early. Don't start bringing in the decision makers when it's crunch time, right? Get that buy-in. Conduct a strategic workshop. If you need assistance in running a strategic workshop, I mean, we are available for that as
And with the
well.
masters, certainly.
We've done a lot of them,
Yes.
and it ends up enabling you to design a program that will be impactful for each and every stakeholder or every department in your company. So go out there and actually make this a lifestyle.
All right, I think you've heard it from the lady in pink. So align it to commercial objectives. Two, get around the table and talk about it. And then three, um, make it a lifestyle like you're going to the gym. Make it real. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you on the next episode of the Zevoli Round Corner. And remember that Zevoli exists to bridge the gap between corporates and SMEs to ensure that supply diversity is business as usual. See you next time.